Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here with Jason Blaha Strength and Fitness, and today I want to chat with you guys and gals about the fact that gaining muscle is an extremely slow process, and that's just a simple reality of it. But a quick reminder, if you guys will please click like and drop me a comment down below, I'd appreciate it so much. So over to this topic, and again, this is barring using fairly copious amounts of PEDs. Barring that situation, muscle growth is actually a pretty slow process. And I know people get confused or like, but people make nude gains, but it's for a short period of time, right? When you start talking about things like gaining 2 pounds of muscle a month, we need to be extremely clear. Number one, not everyone is physically capable of that. Number two, it's fairly short-lived. And when I say not everyone, that is the upper threshold for new gains. That's the upper threshold. That's not the average, right? And here's what I mean. Why is it the upper threshold? That's for tall guys or really underweight guys. In other words, if you're really underweight and skinny, you have a below average amount of muscle, right? If you're an average height man and you're 130 pounds walking around, you probably are 10, 15 pounds under muscled from what your frame should have. If you were at a more normalized body weight, you would probably have 10, 15 pounds more muscle. So you're starting from a lower starting position than the average person. Okay, do we understand this? The overweight person has more muscle than the average person. So in other words, all other activities being equal, the heavier overweight person who's overeaten simply has more muscle on average. Not always, because their lifestyle matters, but just moving around, all the calories, the moving, everything they've done, they're carrying extra muscle as a result. The skinnier guy is usually carrying less muscle on average unless he's had physical activity that would stimulate muscle growth. So starting from a lower starting point, obviously they can gain faster. Those are the guys who are probably capable of gaining 2 pounds of new muscle per month. All right, the tall guy, that's your other guy. A guy who is 6'4", way above average height. Okay, because we start talking 6 foot plus, that's what 11 to 12% of American males are in that range. That's a fairly small number. That's 1 in 8 or less, or even 6 foot or taller. Okay, it's a pretty small chunk. Those guys have a bigger frame that can support more muscle, therefore it's a smaller percentage of their body weight. In other words, a smaller frame, you're going to have less muscle to start with, your total potential is going to be lower, and your rate of gain is going to be lower. A bigger frame, and again, a 6'4" person has a much larger frame. They have way more room to grow. They can gain it faster. So that's why we have that 1 to 2. If you're someone who's already carrying extra muscle because you've been carrying extra body weight, you've been a little fluffier, you're shorter, it might be closer to 1 pound. But we need to understand those rates of gain are probably only 5 to 6 months, maybe up to a year, especially towards that pound. After that, it's going to slow dramatically. And I don't think guys realize this. Once you've been training a little while, 2 to 3 pounds of muscle a year is a lot of work. You're going to have to train pretty hard and consistently. You know, hard being relative. I don't think training is that hard. You guys watching me do a 6-rep set of deadlifts at 500 pounds as an older dude. It was hard, but not that hard. You know, it's just training. Like, training is just training, guys. But you guys understand what I'm saying. It's a slow process. And everyone always has this, well, I want faster gains. Okay? Well, it's nice to want things. You know what? I mean, if we want to make magic wishes, like, why are you wasting one of your magic wishes on that? Like, people act like they've been given a magical wish from a genie. Oh, I want to get really fast gains. Well, okay, that would be nice, wouldn't it? But if you're going to wish for impossible things, why don't you wish for $1 billion? Why don't you wish for a dragon? Because, that's about the same level. Dudes really be like, I want to gain whatever. They think they're going to gain 50 pounds of muscle in 3 years or something. Something ludicrous. Yeah, okay, you might as well just wish for $1 billion. We're at that level, you know. For you to have the genetics and the frame to put on 50 pounds of muscle in that time frame, it's like winning the lottery. It's just statistically, right? The only way that's happening is if you're a 6'5" guy with great muscle genetics who started really skinny, or you had a muscle wasting disease. You know, barring that stuff, not going to happen. So it's just silly, and people have to understand that. You have to put in the work consistently, and people have to be patient. They have these ideas that, well, I'm just going to do this and it's going to happen really fast. Or I'll get that with clients sometimes. I'll have good programming and they'll say, hey, coach, I'd like to speed up my gains even faster than this. Is there anything special we could do with my programming to gain even faster? And it's like, do you think I'm like holding back some magic secrets? You're paying me to give you results. My programming is what I'm doing for you is based upon where you are, about as good as it's going to get. It's like, you want faster results, follow the programming without deviating from it. Stop missing workouts. Get your protein in. You know, there's your secret. But, you know, again, people have these ideas. They think they're just going to gain muscle so much faster. And they think it's going to be some biohack instead of, hey, I should get really strong at my dips and my bench press and my squats, right? Like that's the best thing you could possibly do. Yeah, you should push these big movements really hard. You should get really strong at them. You should push your workloads up really hard. Right? You might want to even eat some extra protein. That's how you're going to speed it up. But barring that, it's going to be a slow process, guys. You have to be patient and you have to be consistent. And people are not understanding how many years of work people are putting in. And anyone who is like, well, they got pretty fast gains. No, they used a bunch of drugs. And those gains may not be that permanent. They may or may not, depending on what they did. So context. Or they had gains already and they lost body fat. What you saw was them dieting down leaner. And I think that creates some confusion also as well. But, you know, drugs, Photoshop, lighting, careful dieting may give the illusion of a lot of muscle growth, but it doesn't mean that's how it's really going to work in the real world. People have to learn to be patient. They have to learn that this is a way of life. It's a lifestyle. Permanent, real changes in muscle tissue is going to take a long time, and that's okay. The time is going to pass anyway. Use it productively. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.